2018 has been a phenomenal year for Hopeful Hearts. We have seen so much going on, and we have seen children in Myanmar baptized, and we have built a house in India, and we have bought a van in Sri Lanka, and we have completed our village, 200 children living in that village. There's close to 400 children in Myanmar that rely on Hopeful Hearts for their support. It's been a really exciting year. Bob has been advanced to our senior advisor, and we have hired Brad to come on as our new executive director, and that has been a phenomenal move. The first year, we left out of here that first trip when Hopeful Hearts was official, and to our name, we had $6,320 some odd dollars, and that was our budget for our first year. And this year, we're going to spend well over $300,000 taking care of the least of these people that now have an opportunity for a normal life, for an education, for a productive career, to be able to care for themselves and to know Jesus. What could be better than that?
We're very evangelistic. Every trip we go on, we talk to the children about accepting Jesus. That to me is the prime reason for Hopeful Hearts. Yes, we feed them and clothe them and educate them, but our main focus is to introduce them to Jesus.
You know, we're ministering to the up and coming generation of the world, and how best to awaken the nations than to raise up a group of godly young people that are coming up in countries where Christianity is sometimes less than 2 and 3 and 4% of their population. In Sri Lanka, for example, we have couples who've gotten married. 2 of them have children. They have good jobs. They are active in their church. They come back to the homes, and for every holiday, that is their home. One of the boys, his name is Stanley, and he took us into the slums to visit his mother. She is Buddhist. He came from a Buddhist family. His father did accept Christ. He led his father to Christ before he died. But this ministry that we support took Stanley out of the slums. Stanley now has a good job. He has an IT position. He has purchased a car. He has a little boy. He has a wife. He's not living in one room with 13 people and opens toilets on every other block.
You know, we've talked about the transition program, and really that's the new frontier for our work abroad, because the kids that we've been helping for the last 8-10 years, they're getting up to that age where they're getting out of high school. And so what we're seeing is the need there to, as like we do in Myanmar, we have 2 apartments, one for boys, one for girls, for 2 years, while they're in education or while they're getting their vocational training, they're there, and we're providing for them so that they can get on their feet.
And then working with the older kids and trying to get them to see what they need to do as far as life skills and how to budget their money and how to make decisions and do problem solving and prepare them to leave and go out into regular life.
We were sitting at our dining room table when Kathy said, "We're going to do an exploratory trip to Kenya," and we thought another orphanage. And she said, "No, this is going to be a hospital for orphans." And that's when Connie and I looked at one another and said, every child deserves to be loved before it dies.
I saw children who had absolutely nothing. They had less than nothing. They were minimized by society there. There were also widows that were working in the hospitals, and they were minimalized as well. But they had joy. They didn't have anything else. They were being cared for, or being well cared for, but materially they had nothing. Some of them were bedfast, couldn't communicate, couldn't feed themselves, yet they had joy. So my biggest lesson was contentment.
On the first floor of the hospital is their critical care unit.
They have all of the emergency type of equipment that they need. Now, the whole idea is they need to open up their own operating room because they've had some of the children die because of taking them to another hospital. And many of these children started out being throwaways. They were left in a sugarcane field covered with ants. And when the men came through to cut the sugarcane, they thought it was an ant hill. And when they started kind of sticking their knife in there, they realized there was a baby underneath there.
They named him Baby Jesus.
He was found on Christmas Eve.
Every time that I come to the Myanmar Christian Village, we turn the corner and I see the houses, I choke up because it was such a God incident for us to even begin that project, and to see hundreds of children raising their hands, praising God, singing to the rooftops, and living in these great houses with godly parents. I'm so thankful for everyone who donated to build the 10 houses, and for Southeast to build the church in the center of our village.
We have our time of worship, and it's a pretty incredible experience to watch the Spirit of God move and listen to them sing and watch them worship. It's uncanny. Then we start our VBS and start into these Bible stories and teaching them these stories, and they're hearing and they're listening, they're participating, and it seems like they're absorbing and they're getting this. That's remarkable, but they're all industrious.
I've been working with Hopeful Hearts for the last few years in Cuba, and working with street kids primarily and other situations. But I wanted to see the orphanages, I wanted to see how the water filter systems are working and how the kids were. I found well-mannered children, clean, good facilities, readily had soap, water, all the necessity you do to try to keep a clean and healthy child. The children love to learn, they love to color.
And now they're going out to the neighbors and they're taking the gospel to their Buddhist neighbors all around that village. Mercy and Samuel's heart is just touches me deeply. This was probably the first time that I'd gone to Myanmar, and I truly wasn't ready to leave.
Hey, you think I ought to teach like this?
You bet.
Yeah, and you get attention.
Is it lunchtime yet, Roger?
Yes, it is.
Let's go eat lunch. We're going to go eat lunch. Okay.
We're at the Good Samaritan's Children Home in Kenya.
You see people in these other countries that are living in a tougher place. And, we've got it made here in this country. Every time we go on a trip and you come back, you really are grateful for all of the blessings we have in this country. And that's very obvious once you get home, you realize that.
So far, the Junior Board has done a lot of good things this year. We had one of our most successful fundraisers. So our goal was to kind of do an event a quarter and make sure everybody feels involved. And whether that's doing the mini marathon at the beginning of the year in April, or doing, we have a restaurant fundraiser we normally do in the summer, so we invite somebody to come out, And then the third thing we do is the pancake breakfast, and that's going to turn into an annual thing. I think this is the second year we've done it. And then finally, we'd like to help out with the Gala, and that, one of our favorite events every year, doing the booths at the beginning and kind of putting our own spin on it.
but you learn from going. You learn things like how strong the faith is of these people that you see and meet, because they live in a condition of a country where it's not as easy as we have it.
And we are totally blessed not only by going, but I feel like we're a blessing to the people there. Not only to the children, but I think the encouragement that we give the people who are operating the homes is a part of my reason for going and interacting with them.
And of course they ask when you come home what it was like, and you almost can't describe it because it's so many things rolled into one. It's beautiful, it's amazing, it's hard, it's difficult, it's heart-wrenching, it's grace, it's love, it's everything all rolled into one.
And I thought, what if I hadn't said yes? Look what I would have missed. I would have missed the greatest adventure that God had for me in my entire life, and He decided to do it late in life. But I said yes, and I'll keep saying yes. It's the only answer to give God, you know.
And I would encourage people in the audience to think about making a trip. You know, we have people, Phyllis Alderdice is 82, 83 years old, and she went to Kenya with me this past June. She went to Myanmar with Bob. She goes to Sri Lanka. And I know not every 80-year-old person can do that, but age cannot necessarily be an excuse. There is nothing as life-changing as just making that one trip where you see it, you touch it, you hold them, they become real, you put flesh and blood. Don't you agree? I mean, it just, you can be excited about Hopeful Hearts and you can want to support, but when you sit and rock those little babies in Kenya, or you play in the dirt with the little children in Haiti, or you go to the village in Myanmar and watch those kids make bricks and feed their pigs and work their gardens, you see the heart of God. You really see God at work.
Who is this? Say hi.
I'd like to tell you a little bit about this young lady named Irene that we met in Kenya. She was suffering from end-stage sickle cell anemia. She was in the critical care unit. We got to spend some time with her. While we were there, she accepted Christ and was baptized on the porch of the hospital. And that day, her little face just gleamed, and she sang those hymns at the top of her lungs. It was a very special, wonderful day for Irene. You could tell that it meant something to her. Shortly before Thanksgiving, we received an email that Irene had succumbed to her illness, and Irene had passed away. Irene had gone home to be with Jesus. Without Hopeful Hearts, and without these supporters, there are people like Irene that would have never, ever heard the story of the good news of Jesus. She would have never known that Jesus loved her or experienced the grace of the cross. And she did, and she's in heaven tonight because people at the dinner wrote a check which enabled us to step up and help, which enabled people to tell Irene about Jesus. It was worth it just for Irene.